What's up, everybody? Hoang Zero here, and today we have for you the BT17 tier list. So, a couple of things I wanted to say. First and foremost, happy Odaiba Day. It is August 1st, so very big day in the Digimon community. And pre-release is tomorrow for BT17, so hope you're all excited for that. Joining me, as per usual, is Zero.
Hey, what's up, guys?
And today, as you all enjoy, we have the BT17 tier list, which we've played a decent amount of BT17. And we've been keeping very, very close eye on Japanese results, especially because right now is Grand Asia Open or GAO. Um,
Well, it's not just Japanese result; it's
yeah,
just
it's
Asia.
everywhere, right? Asia in general.
Yeah,
Um, and so while the first GAO was an EX7, EX7 for the most part is pretty similar to BT17 because nothing in EX7 was super drastically powerful, so like that didn't change too much.
I
But
think there was one like
I mean,
the only new.
Shoto Mother, right?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's the only big relevant deck. None of the actual feature deck made a huge impact.
I mean, I think Lilith won a GAO, but like it was like it was like 60 players, and it got like no ran into
Yeah,
like one meta matchup or something like that. I don't know.
yeah, and it has no other result other
Yeah,
than that.
I like how it's one result is a win. Um,
Yeah,
but nonetheless, let's hop right into this. So obviously the menace, the big boogeyman that everyone's afraid of, Numemon. This deck, it didn't actually receive anything new in BT17. What makes it really strong is the fact that the tools that it already has access to are already kind of insane. Kokuamon for what is it? I want to say BT9 or BT8. Where's Kokua from? It doesn't matter. But they got a floodgate all the way back then that says your opponent cannot ignore Digivolution conditions. So this is really good into the format because you have
it's BT8.
is BT8 okay. But that's really good because you have the Lobomon warp into the Ancient Garurumon, which is the main focal point of the new Ancient Garurumon deck. So Kokuamon just shuts that off. And then you have Chikurimon, which then shuts off their Ancient option, so they can't Digicross into it either. So you really just kind of minimize the amount of plays that they have and force them to rely on cards like Crimson Blaze, like Supreme Cannon to deal with you. Not to mention the fact that in general the Nume engine is kind of insane. No matter how you like look at it, like Nume X, Monte X are both crazy cards, and then the fact that you have access to as many aces as you do, because Yellow Black is the two best color combination for aces.
Yeah, it's the best 8 Uka merchant.
Yeah, right. And that's also another thing. It's the Uko merchant. This is like when you think of aggro, this is probably what comes to mind, right?
Yeah.
But
Um.
it's an aggro deck that has like crazy cycle as well, and it's very consistent.
Yeah. I mean, there's really not much to say about it. Like, it's been getting a result. Everyone's asking for a ban. I felt like some sort of ban needed to happen. Don't know why Bandai is so late on it. I don't know if waiting for the merge is honestly the best idea because we've still got like 2 format to go through. I would honestly just like to see this like get hit in some way.
Ye-
It's been performing consistently and for multiple formats now. Like it just needs to get shot.
And I do agree. I definitely think this deck needs to get hit. Not even for like the sake of like it's way too overpowered or it's way too strong, but like more like it's getting a little stagnant. No,
Yeah.
like
The nature just of the deck just gatekeep because it's able to play multiple floodgate, like you
mm-hmm.
said. It's pretty adaptable in the floodgate it can run, so it just shut down a bunch of different strategies, and just like it speed up the game a lot, and by extension, like the Uko stuff just speed up the game too much.
Mm-hmm.
You really need to hit this deck, and the Uko, it's some at least one of the Uko in general. Because I think the game speed has kind of accelerated a little bit too much, and we need to probably slow it down by like a turn.
Yeah. All right, next deck we do have the new blue hybrid, aka Ancient Garurumon. This is a tier 1 deck. Spoiler alert. It's really good. Tamer interaction in general, or Tamer removal, is still a scarcity. Not a lot of decks have access to that still. We've gotten a lot of decks that have, say, Tamer stun, for example, but that's not stopping. I guess that actually does stop the Ancient Warp combo, right? Because Kendo needs to swing, but
Yeah.
still,
Um.
Tamer stun is not like that
Well,
plentiful either.
well Kendo can. Okay, so Kendo swing to reduce cost, but you can
Oh, you
still
could
keep
just Evo
evolve.
Lobo over it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you lose the damage, but you still get the entire play. So it's like Team of Stun's not as effective as you think it would be.
Yeah. And there's
Yeah.
only one actual Tamer removal deck in the format.
Yeah, which is
So,
Doru.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Um,
The reason this deck is good and is popular is because you play red base, and the most popular version of this blue hybrid deck actually play
mhm.
red base. So you play red base for the draw engine, and you just play Crimson Blaze, and it actually has really solid matchup into Nume because of that.
Yes.
Yeah, like Crimson Blaze is really effective at shutting down Nume, and like the rest of the engine is just really good at clearing everything else. So you're keeping up with Nume in speed a lot of times, and then you're pressuring them while also fully clearing their board and preventing float.
Yeah. And I think another thing that's really significant about this deck is the fact that it is really flexible, right? Like we mentioned, can either do the warp play into the Ancient Garurumon, but you can also Digicross into it, right?
Yeah,
If you use the Ancient option, you're making it into a 4-cost Ancient Garurumon, which I don't know about you guys, but that's kind of insane, no?
yeah. A lot of time what happened is you hammer spark to 4, and
Mm-hmm.
then you do that, and then you can, depending on your memory threshold, like uh you can do a crossplay into a warp play.
Yeah.
So you get like double ancient Garu, so it's pretty strong
You could
in that
also
sense.
do Warp into Ancient Garurumon, evolve into Ruin Mode, and then Ruin Mode pops itself because of the Lobomon effect, and then it applies a minus 10k. And you can do this as early as turn 2.
Yeah,
So overall, really gross. And like we said, red base is the most popular base. I think it's probably going to be the most successful base as well. We really tried with blue base. The blue base just wasn't cutting it because not having Crimson Blaze
removal.
is huge.
You need removal.
You have Supreme Cannon, but you could play around Supreme Cannon to like an extent. Crimson Blaze just shuts down Numemon insanely hard. Not to mention, you also have access to Gatsumon Floodgate, which is also very significant because that means they can't
Yeah.
go like Bonsai X.
One other thing that you can see, you occasionally see, is people will play the Gigimon egg,
Mm-hmm.
which increase your deletion threshold by 1,000. So it make Crimson pop 7k, which is huge.
Yeah, because
Is that
that's RB1 Bonsai, right?
yeah,
There's also the new BT17 Gigimon, which is on swing, pay 1 memory, pop a 3000 DP or less. So then that lets you pop really annoying floodgates and whatnot that may be stopping your Ancient Garurumon.
yeah. A lot of people will obviously opt to play just to play Koro because it's having draw is good.
Which to
But
be
you
that should be your primary egg, to be fair.
Yeah, but you do have like other eggs to flex. Like eggs, red have a lot of good eggs to for you to
Mm-hmm.
flex in, so you can adapt your strategy. Yeah, overall, just a really solid deck. Very strong deck.
Yeah, and in Japan, I guess we'll talk about this in a second, but the next deck I do want to discuss is Imperial, which again is a tier 1 deck. This is the deck with I believe the most local results in Japan.
Yeah,
But out of the 3 tier 1 decks, it has the least regional level results. Which I think is
yeah,
really interesting because this also happened last year for Japanese BT16. Was that Imperial and Tyrant were sweeping locals, and then the Japanese nationals happened, and Imperial ate shit, and Numemon took like 4 out of the top 8.
I mean, it's not that surprising, right? Like Imperial is obviously a very good deck, but if you played the deck for any capacity, you know that sometimes it just doesn't do. Like you just can't play the game.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, oh, I guess I'm missing the correct level 4. I don't get to play the game. Like
Yeah.
that's just the deck a lot of times, and in the fast high speed meta with both Nume and Ancient, like sometimes that just screw you over in a long tournament. So I mean that's probably contribute to the issue with the deck, but whenever the deck goes off is insanely powerful.
Yeah, and the deck did get a lot of new tools. For example, it did get a Return to the Ancestors, which is an insane 2-cost option. Giving that deck additional protection on top of the partition it already has is kind of nuts. Not to
Yeah,
mention the fact that it lets them ramp as well because it reduces the cost of Evo by 4 for a 2-cost option, mind you.
yeah.
And
You can now go a lot of times. What you can do now into decks without Memory Tamer is you use that option to choke to 1 while you go into Dragon mode, which is has was not really that easy before. A lot of times before, after you do your Jorgus play, you go back to like 1 memory, right? And then like you evolve Dragon mode and you pass over a significant amount.
mhm.
But like now, you're yeah, you're able to choke them with the new option, which is really strong.
And then we also got Paladin Ace, which is something that the option can go into, by the way. So
Yep.
the option's delay effect is that when your Digimon would be deleted, you can then Digivolve into an Imperial Dramon without paying cost. So that means your Dragon mode can then go into Paladin, or your Dragon mode can go into Fighter. But going into Paladin is super huge because that's a 16k body.
Well, it's not just that. The the Blast Ace remove all inherit, and that's just completely shut down a bunch of different decks.
Yeah.
Not a lot of decks have like good way to out it. Like if you ace at the correct time, like even when they still have body, you just like kind of shut them down. And the other thing is, if you do have like if you depending on how many you play, if you have a second one, you obviously get 3 memory, and sometimes that will skip their turn. But it's like the main thing is that if you ever ace into this and they can't remove it, you basically win the next turn, because then like this card just get one swing for every body they have on board. Like this card absolutely demolished Nume if they aren't careful into playing into it.
Yeah. So of the three decks, which again they're all super strong, I can see any of these winning the event. Imperial has the best local results. These two have the best regional level results. I personally don't think Imperial is the best deck in the format. I'm the consistency isn't at a point where I'm super comfortable with it per se. Again, I still do think the deck is very good. If I had to give it like a best deck in the format, I'm biased towards Nume. I think it's just like the most flexible deck. It can adapt to any bad situation for the most part, and like its bad matchups are sometimes still winnable even at that, because you are the Uko merchant. You can sometimes just like rush them out of the gate. But Ancient Garu is a very very close.
Yeah,
Yeah,
even with Crimson Blaze, your matchup into Ancient Garu, even when they hard build a counter you, is not that skill. It's like 45,
it's
55
still
at
winnable.
worst.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, like your matchup into everything else is really strong. So yeah, I mean, I think it's very valid. You can argue either Nume or Ancient. They both are pretty. Although the one thing with Ancient is that it's kind of inflexible in its play. It does need to see like very specific pieces.
Yes. So the thing
Yeah.
about Ancient is that it's very telegraphed what it's actually trying to do, because
Yeah.
it's one form of removal outside of like Crimson Blaze, which again, that's why it's so important. Is it bounces lowest level. So if you just put a fodder body, like a level 3 or something, it'll eat the bounce, and then your level 6 is just chilling. And it's kind of hard for them to get into a second Ancient on the same turn, because that is still a 3 memory play, mind you, and then they have to reinvest into another Ancient. So like, if they have like Ancient option, like sure, but then they have to have another Lobo, another Kendo, another Ancient, yada yada yada, right?
Yeah. The thing with this meta especially is, even though we talk about BT16 being a high power set, and the last EX set wasn't really that impactful. It had like what 7 Demon Lords. And I guess you can argue like Legend Arm did pretty well. But this set is another fairly high power set. But what's weird is that tier one feel oddly balanced, in the sense that these three decks have pretty good matchup spread like into each other. They have pretty decent matchup across the board. Like none of them feel like overwhelming compared to each other, right? Like
Yeah.
they are pretty close in power level, in my opinion. There's some difference in consistency, obviously, but like if you play No Man to Imperial and they get their full thing, you can probably just get run over too.
Okay. Moving on, we do have Mirage, which again, Mirage did very well in English BT16 as well as EX6. And the deck, it got the new support in EX6 via the Fish engine, but I don't actually see anyone play the Fish engine. Most people would have just stuck with Zudo and Mox, which it's working out. So like, why try to fix what's not broken, right? But in BT17, there are a couple of things which are ever so slightly annoying for this deck. Um, Number one, Imperial's kind of like wacky, in the sense that like Pyodramon shuts you down completely. If you use training, you trigger Dragon mode. Ancient Garurumon, they don't have anything on the board for you to actually interact with. And in a way, they're kind of like you, but like faster and lower to the ground. So like that's kind of up in the air. Numemon is I'm a firm believer this matchup's actually like 50-50 if both players know what's going on. So, take that as you will. And then you have decks like Omnimon, which are very hard for you to beat, because how do you actually out them without triggering Miraculous Night? And then you have things like Take Mikazuchi, which can potentially just like flip you out of the game as early as like turn 2 if everything goes right. But like on average, it's probably like a turn 3, turn 4 flip.
I think so the thing with this deck is I think one of the reason it was doing well is that it was playing in BT16, it was playing into a meta that was pretty heavy in Magna, right? And the thing about Magna is while it is a very annoying deck, the yellow variant especially does not kill very fast. So this deck benefit from your opponent just kind of like just sitting there and not doing too much, and then you eventually just get your whole setup and you move and OTK them, right? And because this deck can become unblockable, you can OTK through the Magna X.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one benefit of it. And I think Magna, while still a very solid deck, is going to be a little bit less popular down the line because of all the new decks being added to the meta. So I think by extension, this deck is a little bit worse into the general meta because of it.
So looking at Japanese results, we do know that Mirage was still on the radar. It wasn't like super high on the radar necessarily. It was probably like in the bottom quarter of like the relevant decks.
Yeah,
But
I don't remember seeing it at all in Gal though.
and yeah, it doesn't appear in Gao, which is very interesting. And I honestly don't know the reason why that is. Maybe because like people just think Ancient Garurumon, which is just a better Mirage in general, which that's totally fair. That's fine. But yeah, no, this deck is non-existent in regional level events in Asia. But we all know that the English meta loves Mirage Galgamon. Like we really like Mirage Galgamon because I mean it's such a flip the game on its head. Oh look, I OTK'd you, hee hee ha ha, kind of like deck. And BT11 is super annoying. So I don't know, like in the hands of an English player, I understand like maybe tier 2 because like damn we really like this deck. But like if we go off of Asian results and like it's probably tier 3. So like I'm willing to compromise like a high tier 3, like maybe
It's
or
probably
low tier 2. I don't know.
it's probably the best of the tier 3 deck and can easily go into tier 2 depending
Yeah.
on how. Again, a lot of the tiering is based on like how likely you're gonna see this in the meta and how people are gonna play it, right? Like
Right.
a deck could be like in theory tests really well, but if people don't play it, then it's what's the point of putting it on the tier list when you're not gonna
Yeah.
run into it?
All right. And then we do have birds. Birds, it didn't get any new cards necessarily, or at all actually. It also technically received a nerf in the sense that Imperial, its hardest matchup, is better now. They actually even have more tools to deal with birds in the form of Paladin mode as well as Ancestors. So now you have 2 extra cards that help you destroy birds. Ancient Garu, very annoying matchup because it turns out not being able to interact with their tamers and stopping their bounce, very annoying. Um, I don't know. I like birds. I like birds a lot, but I feel like this and this are just like it's going to be very problematic to deal with. Not to mention like Doru is also probably going to be another problematic deck because if they're on Doruga, and Doruga probably popped a tamer at this point, by mind you, so like you probably killed Sora, and you attempt to pop Doruga, then they go okay, Dex Dorugora. Oh no, not Doruga, but the Dorugora, and then they go Dex Dorugora from trash after attempt to pop Evo, and then de-digivolve you, and then it's just you're really sad and you're really depressed.
Also, Omni,
Yeah, Omni also sounds really bad because the Omni effect is resolve
you
the
swing.
bounce.
Well, no, not just that. They just swing. Like you swing and then they just jogers, blast jogers,
I mean, no,
and
that's what I'm saying, right? Is the fact that the Omnimons,
yeah.
the order of the effects is it bounces first and then deletes, so
Yep.
you don't even get to resolve your effects.
Hmm.
So yeah, birds probably not going to have a great time. Gabu Bond. Gabu Bond is a deck that's testing very well for us personally within our own testing groups, but it is like non-existent in Asia. Basically, it like doesn't have any like
Well,
results,
the
right?
one big thing to consider
Gabu
is that
Ace.
yeah, Gabu Ace is a card that exists in Japan. We're not getting to December, and there's significant advantage to that card over old Gabu.
Well, so
Because
I mean, they have Gabu Ace and it's still not performing, right? So if we have
yeah,
the nerfed version of the deck, then like, how do we feel about that?
I mean, like the deck tested fine.
Hmm.
Uh, there's a lot of annoying situation, and you do lose to like Flickgates, like Kokua Flickgate
Right. Yeah, for sure.
from Nume. Like, I mean, you're yeah. I mean,
I mean, another
it's
thing is like, unlike Ancient Garu, you can't run red base, so you don't have access to Crimson Blaze, so you have to rely on things like the Supreme Cannon. to get you to where you need. So that's also like another caveat that you have to consider. But it's probably like somewhere in tier 3 because like in testing it's doing very well, but it doesn't have any of the data to support it. So like I'm a little hesitant to put it in that tier 2.
Yeah.
Next, we do have Magnamon. So this is Blue Magna, which did very well in Japan, locally speaking. Has done absolutely piss in terms of regional level. But it did receive the new promo Flame Dramon. Promo Flame Dramon is Raid. When this Digimon's attack target is switched, burn the top of your opponent's security. So this is another way for you to re-trigger the Magnamon X effect, which is really great. Of course, it's an armor. And just in general, burning is always a great thing because it's letting you push damage even faster.
Remind me if I'm wrong, but Blue Magna has not performed that well in English. Am I correct?
It has not. That is correct. Blue Magna has done very, very poorly in English. Actually, not like very, very poorly because that's too strong.
I mean, it has some result here and there. But
it's like tier 2. It's like tier 2 in English. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it did significantly worse than yellow, right? Because you see a lot more yellow result.
Yellow did a lot better in English than Blue Magna. Yeah.
Yeah. The thing with this deck is that if you go off Japan local result, it seems good, but like it just has not been performing in English, and
yeah,
I don't see anything. It didn't get anything new.
Well, it got the Flame promo, right?
Right. But okay. So here's my hot take. I think that card is kind of bait. Like, WoW is great in some ways that it does enable you to get your activation, but it's you need to swing, man. And it's just like
I actually disagree. I don't think that's as big of an issue as you're saying because like you swing and you proc the burn and that triggers your Magna X, and then like if they ace you, like you've already hit immunity, no? And you've already gotten the burn off, so then like you can deal with whatever afterward.
Yeah, but then you give up your proc.
What? I mean, you were probably giving up the proc regardless if we're afraid of ace to begin with, no?
Yeah.
Like we were looking to we were looking to consume the proc regardless.
I understand that, but I'm just saying like you need because you need an extra body for this to be a thing. I don't know. Like on average, whenever I see this card, a move like when I play into this deck and I see the new Flame Dramon move out, I just like it. A blinding would have been scarier.
I mean, yeah, and it's not like we're cutting blinding. I think it's the fact that like we now have another way to re-trigger the Magna effect, but like it's also searchable is really huge because like blinding wasn't searchable, and that was super annoying. Not to mention the fact that you can still go into Awakening of the Golden Knight over Flame Dramon, which is also very significant. So it's a way to re-trigger the Magna effect that doesn't like absolutely sabo your consistency, which I think is pretty good overall. If we go off of JP results, it's like tier 2. If we go off of English results, it's probably like hovering somewhere in between here and there. I think for the most part, this deck into Nume is okay. Like it's doable. It's not great, but it's very okay. It's doable. You lose to Ancient Garu on average, right? Because of the fact that they have the unblockable mechanic, and you're not actually running base.
It depends. It depends. It depends on how well Ancient Garu open.
Yeah.
Because if they kind of do need to see both Tamer, because what happens is you can get memory choke, and then you lose out on tempo, pretty easily. But if they see both Tamer, then yeah, they're faster than you, and they can probably lead to you.
I think another interesting part of that is so Magnamon X being immune does mean that if Ancient Garu attempts to bounce, Magnamon X is just going to eat the proc, and then nothing's going to happen. And so like in playtesting, there is
it's still going to burn.
Why?
Because Garu's going to draw a card on swing.
Well, yeah, but if you don't have unblockable, then you're just eating shit to the Magna, right? Like, yeah, if you swing out, sure, right? But I'm talking about the sense of like you can't just like a Garu pass turn and like get the burn and all that stuff, right? Like you're forced to swing into this. So like if you're not on unblockable, like it gets a little dicey.
Not really. You can cross for 4 and then like play a training and still get the burn off.
I mean, sure. I don't know. That seems kind of weak, no? Because then you're just getting your teeth kicked in by Magna.
No, you're threatening 2 because you're threatening a second burn. You're threatening 2 burn and an unblockable swing on the next turn with a second Ancient Garu.
I mean, I understand because like again, unblockable is very annoying, and if you can proc the burn, you can proc the burn. Um, I don't know. I think it's like fine. I think it's fine. I don't think it's like I don't think it's like favored or anything, but like I also don't think it's like doomed beyond belief. You know, like I think sometimes you open the Zubagon punch and like cave their skull in. So I don't know. Going off the vibes, I feel like this is tier two. Like I honestly like if we're going off of like vibes, English player base speaking, Mirage is gonna end up doing well. Like regardless of what Japanese data says, I think it ends up performing.
Yeah, I mean that's fine.
Yeah,
I can see that.
yeah.
There's gonna be well. Here's the thing. I think a lot of Mirage players just gonna move to Ancient.
And I do agree, but I think a lot of Mirage players are gonna be like, I still want like the OTK style of play, and so like I think Mirage will see a lot of success in English.
Okay,
Um,
that's fine.
yeah. Tyrant got the new Mega Kabuterimon, which is evade as well as when this card is suspended, it's immune to Digimon effects. So it's actually really good because I mean, like, if you attempt to pop it and then evades, and then suddenly it becomes immune. So that also means it works really well against DP minus. Because if you DP minus, you can still trigger the evade prior to the DP deletion, and which then you shed the DP minus, so you're in a really good spot. I know Tyrant's actually done pretty well in English. Much better than it did in Japan at a regional level. At a local level, it did really well. I don't know. I actually thinking on a Tyrant seems pretty like solid actually. Like you pretty solid new main matchup. Your Imperial matchup, if I remember correctly, is pretty 50-50, right? Mirage is doomed. Magna, you just try to out DP it.
Your Imperial matchup can be rough because they're tamer.
That's fair. That's fair. That's fair.
You get all your short strip by the tamer.
I guess
So
yeah. I guess Paladin mode's a little scary sometimes.
yeah, it's like it's competent, but a lot of times you do end up just getting stomped if they open dual tamer.
What is? I wonder how the Ancient Garu matchup fares. Like,
You're faster. You're a lot faster. You just run them down.
hmm.
Because again, the unblockable part is pretty huge. It's the same issue like you would have into Mirage,
Well,
where they
so
can't.
so it's unblockable, but it's redirectable, right? So Izzy actually stops it.
Oh, you're right. I
Yeah,
forgot. Is
right, right.
Tyrant has to redirect, right?
Correct. Metal Life. Wait, is it Metal Life? Metal Life Kuwagamon. Yes, Metal Life Kuwagamon has a redirect. Izzy also has a redirect. So you have two forms of redirect actually. Pretty good. Pretty good. I'm just saying. Also, I do remember Tyrant Kabuterimon also got top 8 at Gao. No, got top 4 actually. It got top 4. In the, I think it was EX7 meta. It might have been the BT18 one. But regardless, I think Tyrant's actually pretty good. Tyrant might actually have like a very, very solid spot in like the format. I know previously, like beforehand in the video, we discussed like trying to like keep our tier 2 like kind of trimmed, but I'm weirdly a Tyrant believer right now. Like I'm willing to like make this compromise. Even though I also think Magna's a tier 2 deck, I'm willing to make this compromise because I think Tyrant's actually like legit. What do you think?
I do like the new level 5 a lot.
The new 5 is really good.
Yeah.
It's very, very good. And
I mean,
in general, it does pretty well until most things, no?
yeah, I mean, like it has like okay, like you can probably find it's probably like bottom tier 2. It's probably like
go.
it's probably like tier 3 to bottom tier 2. I'm okay with leaving Magna in tier 2 too.
All right, I'll take it. I'll take these wins.
Yeah.
All right, Yellow Vaccine. Yellow
Yeah.
Vaccine is still a really good deck. It didn't receive anything new, but getting your level 6 on turn 2 for cheap is very good. Crazy concept, I know. And this,
I mean, it's tier 2, right? Like there's
yeah.
really not there's not much to argue about. Like it has result. It still got result in Japan. It's fairly competent. You do well like into ancient, the same way that Blue Magnet would do well into ancient.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Is it do well, or is it like you mean like same matchup wise, or
yeah, like if the like your matchup is how well the ancient Garu open tamer wise, because
yeah,
you can shut down their aggro because you do get out pretty early.
yeah,
Like if you get your turn two play, they're probably not able to pressure you too much with the
right,
ancient Garu play, and then like if they don't see the memory tamer, you can choke them. If they don't see the unblockable tamer, then they may have trouble killing you.
mm-hmm,
So the matchup, this matchup is generally how well the ancient Garu open and how fast the Magna player can kill. So if you play this deck in mind and you're not afraid to swing and you just like start to pressure early enough, then yeah, it's very winnable.
yeah.
I think your rough matchup is Nume, right? Like I think this you're
I think you're actually. I don't think Nume is a rough matchup per se because like there are times where you can just like out DP the Manzai X and then like you need them to be like on the Edamon package, but like the Edamon package is not very good into a lot of these other decks. Um,
right. Well, I just mean on average, like the blue version is better into Magna than you are
yeah,
because
yeah,
they have
I agree. I do think the blue version is better
not Magna
into
into
Nume.
Numenor. Yeah,
Yeah,
into
right,
Numenor.
right. I agree.
Yeah.
Um, I think in
Yeah, I
general,
guess the changes to Nume does make it this matchup a little bit better for
yellow vaccine.
yeah.
I think just in general though, being able to threaten level 6 on turn 2 kind of just like makes it like a you have to like always respect it in that sense. And it has like pretty solid results at both locals as well as regional level. So I think it's probably
Yeah,
like
like that's it's a very good deck, yeah. Like,
yeah,
I mean,
it's like arguably like the best tier 2. I think maybe.
yeah.
Um,
Result wise, and it's probably the best teacher.
Yeah. Okay. Omni. Omni is the new Blast Joggers deck that we got in 17. Um, the entire gimmick is that you set up an Omni play. And this deck is pretty unbeatable. For a lot of decks, but all the like the good decks are pretty good into Omni.
It's like
Because
yeah, can you trigger removal twice in a turn if you get
exactly right. So
if you get your board clear?
yeah, so I mean, it's not even that, right? So like, if you swing in their face and they blast Joggers on top of you, can you just like deal with the Omni? And for
Yeah.
most decks, the answer is yes. You can deal with the Omni because, like, for example, Numemon, okay, like you swing or like whatever, and they go okay Omni, and then you go okay Slam Waru Banzaimon, Digivolve the Omni, gain back 5. Oh look, my 2 cost level 5. All right, anyway, Evo Manzai X, and you just like keep extending. Um, Ancient Garurumon can threaten like double Ancient in a turn. Yellow Vaccine. I mean, if you're Yellow Vaccine, blue Magna, whatever. If you're on Magna, Omni's not doing shit to you. Tyrant's also immune to Omni, right?
Yeah, Imperial actually just does not care if you remove their stack. They just rebuild the next turn and just stun you out.
Yeah, like
Like
that. It's just like a war of attrition at that point.
it's not a war of attrition. You legit cannot beat Imperial.
Well, it's because like you kill half the partition, so like you force them to have
Well,
some sort of resource.
yeah, like it's like it's okay. The the issue is like if because this deck is slow and it passes over a bunch of memory,
Yeah,
Imperial can just do the entire setup and they're like, okay, well I'll go pay Ujaman, and then you're like, oh okay, uh, I'll blast DNA into Omni, and they're like, neat, doing it again,
yeah. I mean, like
and
that.
now yeah, your boy is stunned, and
It's
then they'll just beat your skull in.
Yeah, it's a slow deck that passes over a bunch of memory. It's also not like hyper consistent,
Yeah,
and it relies on like a single play like going in your favor. So like it's I don't. This is like you go to locals with this kind of deck, you know.
yeah.
Like it's way too strong to be a tier 4, but it's nowhere near good enough to be a tier 2, in my opinion. Okay, Doragora. This is one of the most hyped up decks for the set, and I say this with a lot of confidence. This deck is really hard. It doesn't read super difficult. I feel like a lot of people just kind of like, oh, like this is like whatever, like you evolve Doru, like Dex over Doru, and like etc. There's so many micro decisions in a single turn with a Doragora deck that like any wrong micro decision can inevitably snowball the game one way or another.
Well, it's because you have an extra layer of decision making
Yeah,
because of all your decks can digivolve from trash. So a lot of turns you have scenario where you're like, well, the actual correct thing for me to do here is suicide my stack into my opponent. Like like they have a tap Digimon, you swing into that, suicide your stack, get the free Digivolve. I mean the free Digivolve, right? So you can activate your whatever stuff. Like sometimes you wanna, activate the like you can swing into a bigger like if you don't have alliance for whatever reason, you can swing into the bigger body.
Uh
And well, yeah, that's what I'm
huh.
saying. You swing into the bigger body, you activate Dex from trash, so you get your Digivolve.
Yeah, and then de-digivolve them and then pop them. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I spoke with Kurov, who was the winner of Gao Singapore, with Doragora, and even he was like, no, this deck is like hard. Like he was watching his like video, like his vods. It was like I made a misplay here, here, and here, and here. Like even I'm not playing perfectly, and that guy just won the entire tournament. So
Yeah.
this is also probably the best tamer removal deck in the format. This is probably like the one true control deck in the format that's like really good. Because everything else is like mid range, tempo-y, aggro sort of shit. No, like this is like just genuine like control towers. And I think the hardest part about this deck is like knowing like when you can like extend to try and like set up for lethal versus like turtling out your discard decisions. Like there's just so much going on in a single turn that like it's a lot. It's a lot. But I do think the deck is really good. I don't think it's in tier one because of like virtue of like how difficult the decision making process is for this deck. And I also don't think it's going to be a popular deck in general. But I think it is very good. I think realistically speaking, if everything goes right, it's arguably like the best tier two deck. But I think Yellow Vaccine just it's so much like less complicated and it's so much more popular that's probably going to see way more results in this deck. Um, so yeah, and then your new main matchup, how it goes is like early game is rough, but then like the moment you stabilize, you just lock them out of the game completely. Ancient, if you can continuously pop tamers, deny them from ever getting value, and as long as you set up your lethal correctly, you're in a very good matchup position. Imperial is like 50-50. For the most part, it's arguably in your favor because you can just de-digivolve them out of the partition, and then you can also pop the Daiken. Mirage is like hard. Magnet decks, you just taunt and then de-digivolve on the swing. Yeah, I don't know. It's just very good deck. So anything you want to add there?
Yeah. No. I think that pretty much covers.
Yeah. Okay. Aosmon. Aosmon got new support. It got a deletion redirect. I believe it had way more. It got way more board spam. I believe it didn't get a tamer pop necessarily, but it did get the new Menoa, which is I believe a consistency booster that was it draw two. Was it a draw two?
Yeah.
It was a draw
It
two,
trash.
right?
It trash and joy too. It negate your opponent tamer on play effect.
Yeah.
So pretty annoying.
So AOSpawn doesn't have a lot of results. There's one person in Japan, Desi, who we know, that does play this deck, and according to him, you do pretty solid into Ancient Garurumon. I assume because of all the ways you play Retamers.
Yeah.
You just can't beat Nume and you can't beat Doragora, and I think those not being able to beat those, like, all right, well, into the garbage bin you go.
Yeah, you get outspeed, but it does have some decent tool, like the new
Yeah.
level 5 EOS the Digivolve, which is pretty
Right.
strong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
It's a case of like it got new cards, but half of its old cards are like not that good anymore.
Yeah.
It needs more than just like one wave.
Okay, then we have Diaboro. It got the whole new line of support with the clock and everything like that. It also got a new Armageddon. I'll be honest, I don't think I've ever seen anyone win with the clock.
No, it's I play a decent amount against it, and I've never even playing slow deck. I've never seen
Like
the clock
the
goes off.
clock never goes off.
Yeah, I've legit played into it with like super slow control deck, and I'm talking like Shaka, right? Like I play Shakamon into it, and it never won with the clock.
Yeah, I mean, like obviously you can generate a lot more tokens now, and then you also have like access to Beast Cyclone, which gives all your Diaboromons +1 security attack, which is really cool. Um, but like realistically speaking, like is this actually anything? Probably not. Um,
It's it's not even complete because they get the next wave in the next set.
what's next set? EX7?
Yeah,
What's an EX7?
it gets the new Diaboro X, doesn't it?
What are you talking about?
Am I? Was that?
There is no Diaboro X. What are you talking about, bro?
I could have sworn there was a.
There's no Diaboro X card yet.
Huh.
It does not
Damn.
exist. Yeah, no.
I.
After 17, that's it for a while.
Wow. Okay. Oh, it was EX6 that it got previous support.
Yeah, it gets EX6 and
Oh,
BT17.
that's why I got confused because you used the EX6 version of the car, and in BT17 they got a new Diaboro.
Yeah, so you got Clock Diaboro.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Uh. Yeah. Okay.
All right, but yeah, Imperial. You have access to Digivolve, which is really cute. But like the Hyodramon probably like makes you want to like off yourself because everything is just stunned. Ancient Garu. Uh, Ancient Garu has access to both Crimson Blaze as well as Supreme Cannon, which just wipes all your tokens, and then they can just like bounce the main body, which is really annoying. You have things like honestly, Nube is probably like kind of annoyed into this. Not gonna lie, because like you have so many bodies, and then you just like dealing with all the bodies is probably really annoying for Nube. So I guess you have that going for you to like a certain extent. But I don't know. This deck just did not perform whatsoever in Japan, despite like getting all this support. Like I said, I don't think it does well into like either blue decks. Like maybe it does well into Nume, and into like Magnamon style of decks. I don't think you're never killing the Magnamon, right? So you're always having to like pray you can like deal with the stack. Another thing is that you're really bad into Paladin Ace, because Paladin Ace is like constantly restanding off your tokens, right? So it's just, and then it's also removing all your sources. So every time you have a token onto the board, it's just a free stand for Paladin mode, which is probably
Also,
really bad.
also Omni Ace.
Yeah, Omni Ace also like, yeah, good talk. You're
like lore wise, they got made to counter you.
yeah. All right, Gallant, you want to take this one away?
Yeah, this deck is trash.
But James, but it got new support. What about the new Gallimon has protection, right?
Got up the new support. There's like the new Gilman is like okay. I don't even think it's that good. The Gramon is okay. Again, I don't think it's that good. Like the only good card I feel like I got this set is like the new War Ground. I guess Crimson Ace is like decent, but like it's not enough. I think the new Gallant is pretty mediocre. Like, yeah, great, you get blocker.
I think a thing that a lot of people don't realize, and I didn't even realize it the first time reading it, is that the protection is only your turn and not your opponent's turn.
Yeah, you get protection against Ace. Yay! Also, you have to be Blitz.
Yeah.
You have to be swinging with Blitz to get protection from Ace. Like, with memory passover, and on top of that, Crimson Savior is like the most depression option.
It's so ass.
I read this card and I got sad.
It's pretty terrible, yeah.
Like, why couldn't it have at least been a level 4 or higher?
It's okay. Well, yeah, Gallant gets support in BT19. Like it'll be fine, surely, probably.
But Gallant has gotten like 6 wave of support in almost every single
No, dude. You get Gallant Ace, dude. Like it's the problem solved.
I think what will save this deck is that you stop giving pure Gallant support and you merge Gallant support with Zafaga support, and then
like Medieval Gallant.
Yeah, Medieval Gallant and New Gallant X being like half green or something. Maybe that will salvage and make Gallant playable, because like, holy crap, like, it's so depressing.
Yeah.
This is one of my favorite Digimon. It's just depressing to see you keep getting away for support and never do anything.
Yeah. All right, and then we do have Shine Greymon. Shine's actually pretty good, I would say. For the most part, in 17, it got the Agu and the Geo are pretty mediocre. The Rise is actually really good because it lets you tap your own Tamers on. I believe it's like tap Tamer to DP minus, right? Yeah. If I remember correctly, and then that if you tap your Tamer, obviously that triggers your Marcuses, so you can make plays off of that. And then the new Shine Greymon on Evo plays a Marcus for free. And then it also has protection. Whenever you would be removed, I believe, you can instead evolve.
Yeah, whenever you leave battle area by opponent effect.
Yeah.
So
yeah, then you can go into like a burst mode instead. And then I believe the new Awakening of the Sun option is, I don't think it sees a lot of play, but like it's not terrible. So like that's cool. But one of the biggest things that you have to consider is that there is no scramble. Our BT17, no scramble. Scramble is not until December, which is a very significant hit to quite a few decks in the format, like Dorugora, for example. No scramble, so that hurts it quite a bit.
Yeah. I will say one thing that's neat about Awakening of the Sun is that it does trigger when you use the protection effect.
Yeah.
So you can delay and then go into your burst mode, which then will it function like a like a blast ace stat, but your opponent doesn't swing. Doesn't
Yeah.
have to swing. So whenever if they try to remove, you can like preemptively punish them without them needing to swing.
All right, and then we do have Demon Lords. Demon Lord, I didn't get any better. I think the deck is fine. The deck has actually performed pretty well in terms of results. Imperial.
I didn't.
Oh, go on. Sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think the issue with the deck is that it didn't get any better, but the meta has gotten faster.
Yes.
And the problem with this deck is that your turn 1 and turn 2, you're often passing over a lot of memory if you don't open the right pieces, right? Like you play 4 Emperor and that's great, but there's a lot of times where my opponent's just passing me like 5 on turn 1.
Yeah.
And then like you can. That's really bad into like Ancient Guru.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think the biggest thing though, right? It's like, okay, your Nume matchup. Nume, if you open like the Emperor, is fine. If you don't open the Emperor, it's really bad. Imperial is hard, especially now that they have Paladin mode, which puts all your trash back into the deck.
Now that they have protection deletion.
Yeah, Ancestors, right?
Yeah, so they can now partition 2 bodies if you try to remove the stack, and then still evolve up to remove whatever you just play. So then like you're getting pushed for a lot of damage the following turn.
And then you also have like both Magnas, which are just immune to all your stuff, so that's also like really annoying. In general, I feel like the meta is just kind of like really annoying for you, but still, it's a deck with like at least a decent amount of success at a local level. It didn't perform very well at the regional level. It got top 16 in Singapore, if I remember correctly, and that's the only result it's had since.
Yeah.
Sakuya is bad. It got a whole new wave of support that does nothing. It does stuff. It just doesn't do anything meaningful. And you have to wait until BT18 to get the new Dynasmon support, which gives you protection.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the cards themselves are bad. Like, I think the cards themselves are very decent, but like the issue is like your game plan still involved you setting up a body on the board, and you don't have protection, so you just get removed.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really need the new protection to let you like play the game.
Yeah.
You need that protection to have human rights.
Okay.
Or Digimon rights.
And then Kazuchimon, which I guess before we talk about Kazuchi, let's talk about Luga. Luga got... Okay, so there's old Luga, and then there's Takemi Kazuchi Luga, but nobody plays old Luga. Old Luga is like dead.
You play... A lot of lists just play 2 of the old Luga in... old Fenry in the new build.
Yeah, I mean, like, from what I've seen, majority of the lists are just new Fenry plus Kazuchi.
Yeah,
but I have seen some that run old Fenry. Yeah, but old Fenry style of deck, you don't run the Kazuchi package, and then you're just playing like the standard OTK line of play because you have the new AG, so you're a bit more consistent now. But then there's like the Takemi Kazuchi variant, which is, I mean, minus 23k DP is pretty great.
24.
24. Oh my god, yeah. Ugh. Yeah, minus 24k DP is pretty good, and it's also really great at just extending. But there is one slight issue, I would say, and that is the fact that you don't have Scramble. Scramble is not in the format. And Scramble was probably one of the biggest things, I would say, for Takemi Kazuchi, because generally you would spend all your time setting up, and then you would have a Scramble set up, and like your board gets cleared, like a Hell Luga or whatever, and then you scramble into a Luga, which then, because at start of turn, then you resolve start at main, which then lets you tuck an AG, resolve all of your plays, and then you go into Takemi Kazuchi. Because it's a Joggerus, that means that Takemi Kazuchi can now attack, despite it previously having been a Scramble stack. And then you just kill your opponent from there, which was really, really huge. That is like your best recovery play. That no longer exists. That really sucks. So the question is, without Scramble, how do we feel about Takemi Kazuchi?
I think it's still like a very solid deck, but it kind of same issue as current Luga, right? Like, yeah, you do have your Tamer, but then now you just swap your Tamer for needing to see the full level 6 combo, like because you need to see your Take, your Kazuchi, and your Fenry. because like the most popular build that just doesn't run the old Fenrir at all
Hmm.
require you to see all three pieces to play the game, right? And sometimes you that yes, you are very competent at digging through the deck, and yes, you do end up playing like 6 AG, but or I guess five to six AG is what I
It's like
usually see.
five usually. It's like three memory tamer, two BT14.
Right,
You know.
but yeah, but you just swap. You basically just swap the card that you need to see instead of needing to see IG now to play the game. You need to see like the Kazuchi and the Take. So it's just
So
like
without scramble, do you think this is a tier two deck still?
it's hard to say because we have best of three.
Right.
Um,
So that gives you like an extra like fighting chance to try and find it, right? Especially if you build your deck to like maximize on like consistency.
yeah, but you can also make the argument that that's more games in a tournament that this deck
Yeah.
needs to be able to find all its pieces, and it can happen often enough. I'm probably like okay with this, putting this at bottom tier two.
Yeah, I think I am too.
Like yeah, it's like it's probably not consistent enough to be tier one. Like this deck is really strong when it goes off. Like if you are main character, enemy character, you know you can. If you get this combo off on like turn two or turn three, you are winning the game. Congratulations. But on average, you're probably not. You're
Yeah.
getting run.
All
Yeah.
right.
So I mean, it is a good deck.
Yeah, I agree. And then we do have Kazuchi, which is not Luga, but it also goes into Takumi Kazuchi. Because the Fenry is on play out the Kazuchi, I believe. Right? Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Um, I guess the question here is like, what does Kazuchi do that is like relevant enough to like you would play this over just like Luga Takumi Kazuchi?
Well, it's a control deck more than an
Hmm.
OTK deck. So
Right.
you just play the postcards aspect to play like a more control deck, and then you obviously you sit on the Kazuchi and then you slam the Luga, and then you still do the whole DNA play.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. I know this deck saw little to no results in Asia. Um, do you think there's any world this is like tier three, or is it realistically like tier four?
I think so. I think it got really good cards, and it's probably competent enough to be tier three.
Okay.
The only thing with it though is that I feel like a lot of people who would play this would probably just end up playing Luga
So
instead.
like it just won't have the representation to it justify a tier three. Would you say?
Yeah, it's I don't know how popular it end up being.
Yeah.
I know Postman have some diehard fans, but it's just like
I mean,
just
even the diehard Pulsemon fans don't want to play Pulsemon.
yeah. So it's kind of weird. Like it got by now what it got like a wave of support in 16, and then
it was BT8,
no
BT.
no well, the modern variant got like it got
Oh,
a full wave of support in 16, right, with all of the lower fives.
yes, it was in 16. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like the level 6 in 16 and is pretty decent now. What's his name?
Oh,
Shroud.
yeah, Shroudbond.
Like it's decent. It's not bad. But overall, it's just like there's not a lot of reason to play this deck. If you want to play a stable control deck that can win the game,
Doragora.
yeah, just play Doragora, right?
Yeah.
Like this doesn't really have like there's not a huge amount of advantage in playing this over other decks in the meta because it doesn't do anything. Like if you're trying to play like a deck that abuses Takamizuchi, you just play Luga. And if you want to play a stable control deck, you just play Doro.
Yeah.
So it's just in like a really awkward spot.
Mm-hmm. All right, then we have Ragna. Ragna is a deck that did not exist in the Japanese format, but has actually done very well in the English EX6. As far it even won, I believe it won. What was it? It won Barcelona. That's what it was. It won the Barcelona regionals. And prior to that, it also had gotten 17th in both English as well as EU. EU being both results from Yuxo. Having spoken with Yuxo, he says that this deck does extremely well into Mirage. It does extremely well into Nume. It does well into both Magna decks, and it loses to Imperial. So that's. And you're probably also gonna lose. I mean, like going forward, you're probably losing Sakami Kazuchi because like minus 24k is like scary. But that being said, if you're beating Mirage, I think you're probably realistically fine into Ancient for the most part. Like maybe it's hard. Like it's probably harder because Ancient has like a lot more floating to it, but like it's probably like fine. And then the other matchups that you're good into, like they really don't change. So you're fine in that regards, and Imperial's kind of hard still. So I think this is like a tier 3 deck. It's like competent. I think this is a competent deck.
Yeah, based on the result you got in English, I think 3-3 is completely fine.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
we have Yellow Hybrid. This is a deck that I spoke with Shane Tan, who, if you don't know who Shane is, he was the winner of the Asia Finals, I believe, in 2023. Yes, Asia Finals 2023 with Yellow Vaccine. And he recently, I believe he made top 8 with Yellow Vaccine at Singapore Gao, and then he also made top 8 with Taken Mikazuchi, I believe, at one of the more recent Gaos. I don't remember which country it was, but he was saying that Yellow Hybrid he thinks is a really good choice for the English format. We didn't discuss it in the context of BT17, and like you can argue that it's gotten worse in BT17 because you have things like the Dexdorugora, and then you also have things like Taken Mikazuchi, which really don't care about it. But like in the grand scheme of things, like I think you're probably fine. Like you do really well into Nume.
Well, I would say one of the new tour you did get in 17 is Shine Burst Mode.
This is true. Yeah, you did get Shine Ace. That is pretty significant, right?
Yeah, it synergizes with your style when I play a lot of Tamer, and it is a big damage push for lethal.
Yeah, I think in general hybrid decks, because like you said, the amount of like Tamer removal is still fairly scarce in the game. So I think Yellow Hybrid, I don't think it'll see any representation for it to actually be a good deck. Even if I think it's a good deck, right? It just won't see play. I mean, there are like those dedicated people out there that like just really like Yellow Hybrid, but like I don't think they'll like modern Yellow Hybrid, which is much more tempo oriented rather than control oriented.
We might see a resurgence of like Yellow Hybrid in 18 that we're not really seeing in Japan, but
Yeah.
I don't know about now.
Yeah, I'm inclined to put this in tier 4, just because I don't think it'll see results in our format, but I do think it's a really good deck. And then like if it had representation, it would probably be in like tier 3, but like for now, I think tier 4 is probably like playing it safe.
Yeah, like anything in tier 4, you're realistically seeing like once in the tournament and then never again.
And yeah, like barely, maybe once, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, Ancient Greymon. This got the same amount of support as Ancient Garurumon, basically, but Ancient Garurumon, you have to
arguably more, because Takuya has gotten way more support than Koji. BT12.
No, I remember BT12. I guess the only difference is that you have one Takuya over the Koji, right? But like, do you even play the? No, wait, did they even get the new Takuya? They did, right? They got the new Takuya this set.
Yeah.
It's the one that draws a card.
Yeah, they got the one. No, it gains piercing.
Oh yeah,
and it gains memory start of turn, and then like you got one extra wave of like hybrid compared to Kochi.
I guess we did. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah, you got a whole. What do you mean? You guess they got a whole wave of Emperor. Like they got a whole line of Emperor in BT12.
That's fair. Well, hey, you get your compensation Magna Garurumon eventually. Like, just like wait a promo or two. You know.
Yeah. What about the rest of the line?
That's fine. Look. Anyway, Ancient Greymon. It has I think the biggest difference between Ancient Greymon and Ancient Garurumon is Ancient Greymon is deletion based and Ancient Garurumon is bounce based, and historically bounce based is way better than deletion based, right?
I mean, I'll just say it straight up. I think Ancient Greymon is a much worse card than Ancient Garurumon.
I mean, it is, yeah. Like it very much so is.
Yeah, like I mean, like that's not even a debate, right? Like it deletes and it has security attack +1, so it's like great. I am doing extra checks, so I am checking your security.
Yeah.
I am deleting something, and on top of that, the doing when you do a DNA play with this, it has no board impact compared to it has a board impact in terms that you delete something. But honestly, this card should have just said, when you delete something, burn the security. But then maybe in that sense, it's also worse into an empty board. Like it's just a lot more awkward than Ancient Garu. The reason Ancient Garu is really good is because you can pretty much always get a security burn off, because like it also works when you draw a card.
Yeah.
So yeah, that card is just a lot better. Like this is just a much worse card. It is all it is. Like
Yeah.
the rest of your support isn't like. I guess the rest of your support is a little bit worse. Like your Aguni and your Burning Grade doesn't draw cards. They get extra power, which is cool. But like the new Lobo and the new Kendo both drawing cards is pretty huge on Inherit.
Yeah, and I mean, in the grand scheme of things, like we're saying all this stuff, and like it's still a fairly like competent deck. It's still like a very
Yeah,
good
it's
deck.
competent.
Yeah.
I think like it has gotten enough support. Like Red Hybrid has gotten so much support that there's no way this deck is like unplayable bad.
Right.
It's just like it's okay.
Yeah, and
Like
you still have access to like a turn 2 ruin mode play too, which I think is really cool.
yeah.
Yeah, I think it's like tier 3. It's fine. It's
Yeah, like the one thing about this deck is that has advantage over Ancient Garo is that you can actually play your red base, which is your own color, and then get access to Crimson Blaze.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then you also have access to the promo Aguni, which let you warp on swing. So that's also pretty cool.
Yes, yeah. Which on swing is arguably better than on Evo because that means you can Evo in back and then like no, you're not afraid of Emperor.
Yeah. So like that's a cool aspect of this compared to Ancient Garo. So that's like the one advantage they have. But like overall, the reason like it's probably not seeing a result is this card's just a lot worse than Ancient Garo.
Yeah, and then finally we do have Old Force, and I'm convinced if your name is not Martin Kiki Lee, this deck is not good. Like it got the new Vydra promo, and the new Vydra promo is very good. But again, this deck is so fake unless your name is Martin Kiki Lee. And I don't know
Has it gotten any result outside of Kiki?
No! The deck doesn't perform for shit unless it's Kiki playing the deck. Which, in all fairness, Kiki pilots that deck like a monster. I don't know, like, I swear that build gets crazier every time I look at it.
Maybe it's just because people are not playing it. Maybe
I don't know.
Are people just opting to play like Mirage instead of this?
I mean, like, that's probably the case, but like at the same time, like, there are still people that are taking Old Force, and it's just like eating absolute shit. And then you have Kiki, who is farming people left and right. He got 4th place at one of the more recent regionals, right? Like I don't know, dude. Like Kiki might just be a god. Like with Old Force in his hands, maybe he's just the best player. I don't know, dude. But I'm so sorry if you're Kiki, bro. This might as well be best deck in the format. On God. If your name is not Kiki, nice tier 4 deck. Nice.
Well, I mean, it's kind of appropriate that Gallon and Old Force is next to each other since they both got this starter deck at the same time.
Yeah, and like, again, bounce is cool and everything, but like, okay, you don't have any bounce interaction with Ancient. Imperial stuns you. If you're not,
oh yeah, you can't even actually bounce Imperial, can you?
Yeah, because you're stunned. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The Magna decks can be really annoying because you just can't do anything to the Magna decks.
Can you go through Magna X somehow? Do you have unblockable?
You do not have unblockable unless you run blue plugin, but like it's its own whole can of worms. Doragora has Tamer Pop, which I don't think you actually pop enough Tamers for it to matter because like you have 1 Tamer Pop versus Old Force like vomit 6 Tamers. So like
yeah, I don't think it matters because with this deck, if you have the Rena, you just like pop up in 1 turn, so it's kind of
it's probably fine. Not to mention you just bounce the Doragora, so like it's whatever.
Yeah.
And Nume, if you're on Kiki's build, I think Nume is fine. I think you probably are really good into Nume. Maybe that's like a Kiki thing. I don't know, dude. Kiki like is an anomaly, dude. He just skews the data in such a weird way, which is like again kudos to him because he's making me have an aneurysm over Old Force. But like again, if your name is not Kiki, I don't think this is a good deck, even with the promo. So, yeah. That's the tier list. The only deck we forgot, now that I thought about it like midway through, is like pure Green Rapidmon because it did receive the new Terrier and the new Willis. Where would you put that? Because I know you played a lot more of that deck than I did.
So here's the thing, it got those cards, but those cards aren't that good.
So where would you put Green Terrier?
I mean, realistically, it's probably like tier 3 level competent because you still have Magna X. You still have access to Rapid X and Magna X. So like you're still decent into like a pretty good spread of the meta. Like you have strong cards. It's just that what are you doing over the pure yellow hybrid and the blue Magna variant of the deck? You know,
Right.
like what tools are you
Which
having access to?
we're just gonna wait. Hold up. Where is the? I'm just gonna add it real quick. Hold up.
Does it even have result? I don't think it has that much result in English at all.
Here it is. Terriermon. There. No, it doesn't. It's pretty fake in English.
It has well, okay. I see like a top 16. No,
It,
no, that's a top 8.
okay. Tier three, baby. Tier three. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
it has enough result to not be fake, but like
But also like it's fake.
yeah,
Like
like
let's be real. It's fake.
yeah, like the chance of you running into this is about as likely as the rest of tier 3.
It's fair enough. All right. Well, anyway, that's a tier list. Ta-da. Um, any closing thoughts?
BT17 is a really high power format. Again, we got two pretty high power format in a row. Um, if we didn't know future support, I was gonna say I hope Bandai slow down a little bit on power creep. Which is what they did.
Dude, BT18 is such a dog shit set.
Yeah. Based on what we've seen with both EX7 and BT18, though, like almost no meta impact have happened. Like the one card that had meta impact is like them accidentally having Shoto work with Mother.
I mean,
The Reaper.
that's EX7 though. That's not BT18.
Well, I mean, I'm saying like in future set that's coming after this, right? Like the two upcoming set.
Well, I mean, like Purple Hybrid's pretty competent.
Yeah, and then you have Purple Hybrid being like playable,
Yeah, like it's
but
competent.
it's not changing the meta though. It's like 2-2.
No, like the meta is still like Nume, Ancient Garu, Imperial.
Yeah, and like Ancient Garu didn't really change. They're playing like two new cards, three new cards or
I
something like
mean,
that. From
yeah, you get new Lobo and new Takuya Koji. And Takumi Kazuchi actually saw a large surge in play in BT18, which I imagine is probably because like you don't interact with your opponent's security, so you don't give them tamers, and then you just like OTK them.
yeah, I think in remind me if I'm wrong, but I think in 18 Magna saw a lot less play too.
Correct. Yes. And that's primarily because Ancient Garuru has unblockable. If my assumption is correct.
Yeah, uh,
Also,
Magna
new,
getting
wait,
Magna getting shipped.
there's a new card. Shadow Serafi. Shadow Serafi is very, very good. And I think that all drastically changes the dimension of Nume.
Yeah, Shadow Trophy helps Nume a lot. Shadow Trophy is also good for a lot of yellow decks actually.
Yeah, it's a very good card.
Yeah. I mean, yellow hybrid. The new purple yellow hybrid obviously plays it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, we can talk about it some more in the 18
Yeah,
set, but
when we get to BT18, we'll talk about BT18.
yeah,
Yeah,
but essentially, yeah, the meta. This is the meta that you're gonna see, with very little shift in the next two set.
yeah. I mean, like realistically speaking, this is like this is your big three for like the next hot second. So
Yeah. Yeah, we were gonna add Secon, but like, God, Secon is so weird.
nobody plays SecCon. It's like fallen off the face of the earth.
Yeah, like have we seen any single result for Secon in English?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I just feel like nobody wants, like, even when that deck is like, unless that deck is undisputedly like tier 1, I don't think anyone wants to play it outside of
Yeah.
like a very limited amount of people.
Yeah. All right. That's the tier list. Again, happy Odaiba Day, everyone. Hope you are enjoying whatever Digimon related media you happen to be watching. If it's, I guess it would just be this tier list, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
like, honestly, if you just take this tier, did we even bother making a tier list for the next two sets? Because it would just.
I
be
mean, we
this.
should, but because we skipped EX6 by accident, wink. But like,
Please, please, Bandai, please add a ban list or something so the meta
Yeah.
will shake up a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, hey, the meta shaked up. We got a
Yeah, like,
new tier 1 deck, dude.
Okay, let me preface this. I'm not exactly complaining because I think I think not having a meta defining set every single new set is good for the game. You can just add stuff, but I think my problem with 18 is that 18 is just really boring design wise. But it would be nice if we get a ban list to shake up the meta and have decks shift and play rate without adding a bunch of new cards. That would be nice, I think. Just so the meta doesn't stay stale. Because as it is, like these are your top three for the next, 6 months.
Yeah, yeah. This problem. I don't think anything crazy changed. Like I think Demon Lords goes up because of
Yeah, yeah, but I'm just
Shoto.
saying, like
Yeah,
tier one, I think tier one stay the same for the next 6 months.
yeah, for the most part.
Yeah, so that can get really stale. So I know a lot of people have complaints about Imperial, like they don't like the what Imperial does to certain decks in the game. So I mean, we'll see. I do think a ban list would be very nice.
But yeah, all right. But thank you so much for watching. We really do appreciate it, and hope you enjoy your weekend. Peace out.
Okay, bye.